And hello, Frank. Thanks for joining me and hanging out this morning. And how are you doing?
I'm great, April. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk today.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said before, this is literally my very first time doing this, like conducting any sort of interview. So I hope you feel honored to take part in
I
this.
do.
Yeah. So tell me or tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your project, about your band Halovox.
Well, I've been doing music under the name of Halovox for, let's see, about 23 years now. So it's been
Okay.
quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I first started doing music probably when I was in my teens. My parents got me one of those very small Casio keyboards with the mini keys on it. I think it only had like an octave and a half worth of keys. And I started out by just trying to pick out the melodies from songs that I liked, like the vocal melody, so that you could tell what song it was if I played it. And it was very much kind of like people who hunt and peck on a typewriter. That's how I was playing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and thankfully, my parents were extremely supportive of me. And over the years, they got me a couple of nicer keyboards until when I graduated college, my gift, what I asked for, was a Korg workstation synthesizer as my graduation present because it had multi-track recording capabilities, and I could start sequencing songs with all of the different parts and things like that. And
Nice.
that was kind of the beginnings of it for me.
All right. Yeah, sounds so definitely sounds like you've got a pretty much a lifetime, a solid lifetime of experience in music one way or another. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
definitely.
so I know you do vocals and the synthesizer. Do you still play around on piano, keyboard, or any other instrument?
I pretty much just play the keyboard. I can drum a little bit. I don't have any drums, but I can keep a beat a little bit, but nothing fancy. I've been wanting to add an electronic drum set both to the home studio as well as to the live set to have some live percussion. Um, but I haven't done that yet. But mostly it's just me playing on the synthesizer, and I still have that Korg that I mentioned from before. I've had that for 30 years now, and I also have a Korg Triton. Those are my two hardware synths. The rest is all soft synths.
Okay, well that's impressive. I do hear that the Korg equipment tends to last a long time. So I didn't realize that, you're still 30 years later that you can still function just fine, just perfectly on it, I assume.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So, and I know you mentioned that you're originally from New York, from upstate.
No, actually, Long Island.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, kind of compare, if you can, compare and contrast like the scenes, the music scenes from up there versus anywhere in North Carolina, particularly Apex. I think you're currently in Apex, is that right?
Yes, I'm currently in Apex.
Okay.
I was born in Mineola on Long Island and lived throughout Long Island. Most recently was in Huntington before my family and I moved down here to Apex. It's going to be 4 years in August.
Wow.
Um, there's a great scene in both locations, and I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to play at a lot of different places, both in New York and now in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
A very interesting thing about me is that in terms of live shows, is that I don't think I've ever set one up myself. Like I've never curated a show. I've always been invited either by DJs or promoters who were running a night or other bands that were, looking to have other bands, fill out a bill that they were doing. And I've just been very fortunate that that has always led to more networking and more invitations to play different places. Um, Both places have vibrant scenes, great DJs, great crowds. Obviously, I think that there might be a little bit more opportunity in New York City to do certain things, and things are a little bit more widespread here in North Carolina. But I've been fortunate enough to play Winston Salem a couple of times at Monstercade.
Hmm.
Ruby Deluxe in Raleigh, um, Eagles Dare, I think, in I'm probably getting that name wrong, in Wilmington, as well as the Barzar as part of the Wilmington Goth Fest a couple of times.
Yeah.
Um, so those are a couple of the places that I've played. The Pinhook in Durham, and I haven't made my way out there yet, but I understand there's a lot of great places in and around Charlotte to play. There's also some
Hmm.
places at Fayetteville that have got goth nights and things that go on. So hopefully, I will be able to make my way to those places soon as well.
Yeah, yeah, that would be awesome. Have you played outside? Have you played anywhere else in the country outside of North Carolina or New York?
New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, North Carolina. I think that's it for now.
Okay.
It was always usually places that were within driving distance, just because of the costs associated with it.
Gotcha. No, that's totally understandable. And you are, in fact, like you mentioned, you are very fortunate that you've had the opportunity to be invited by collaborators and DJs and other people who are familiar with you. Was it just so to kind of take a few steps backwards? How
Mhm.
how did they know? How did they know who you were? I mean, how did that network start there in the beginning to get the ball rolling?
Well, I think part of it was that when I would go to clubs, back when you were giving out CDs to people to promote yourself, I would give them out to DJs, and kind of spread that way by word of mouth. Now, with everything being online, I reach out to local DJs and international DJs, and especially when I have a new release coming out. I always try to be courteous about it. I try not to spam people. So, for instance,
Yep.
I'll reach out to a DJ. If it's one that I haven't spoken to before, I'll introduce myself. You always need to make sure that they play the kind of music that you are potentially going to send to them. You don't want to, because some DJs get requests from people throwing just anything at them, not bothering to do the research to see what kind of music they actually play. So I always try to do my research, make sure that I will fit in with their programming, and then I start off by introducing myself and basically asking for permission. I have a release coming out, or I just had a single come out. I'd love to share it with you. Would that be okay? And then if they're open to it, then I send it to them and I thank them for it. And when I see that people have played any of my songs, I always make sure that I try to tag them, thank them for it. And that helps to build the relationships as well. So in the beginning, it was word of mouth. Now, there's still some of that, but I also do a lot of proactive outreach, trying to find new places to be heard, whether it's internet radio or traditional radio. Just trying to get myself out there and get the opportunity to be heard.
Yeah, nice. I like that. I like those answers. Is that you've relied on various methods to get your name out there and get people to familiarized with your music and that they know who you are. And I think it's great. You've used the word of mouth and you've used the internet and all the other things to get yourself network. And I think that that's super, super important these days.
Yes,
For sure.
thank you.
Yeah, and you did mention, speaking of new releases, I was checking out the other day, I was checking out First Bite. I think that was your most recent release. Yeah, is that correct?
Yes, that's the most recent single. It came out, I think, on December 5th. I released it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really, really like the sound of that. So where do you see what's the next step?
So right now, there's a couple of things going on. Some collaborations. I did a remix for a friend in New York, which hasn't been released just yet, but I believe it will be coming out sometime soon. It was in conjunction of an anniversary album for them, where they were celebrating the 20th anniversary of an album that they did. And as a companion release to a remaster of the original, they will be releasing remixes. And I was very honored that they reached out to me and asked me if I would do a remix for that. So that was actually produced last year. And now just waiting for the official announcement on that. Another project is Synthetic FM. That's a gentleman named Bobby Clark, who is in Kentucky. And I've known Bobby for over 20 years. I think we met through mp3.com years ago. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but there used to be a site called
Vaguely.
mp3.com.
Yeah, sort of remember
And
that.
that was the first place that I ever uploaded Halovox music on, and it was really cool. They had charts, and like you could see how your songs performed, and a lot of networking occurred during those days. And one of the people that I'm still in touch with is Bobby, and his project is called Synthetic FM, and he did a remix for my song Deception back in 2013. I had done a 10th anniversary compilation album where I asked various people to do remixes of songs from my first two albums, and Bobby did a song called Deception. And then years later, some point last year, he does a series called Undercover 80s, where he does cover versions of obscure 80s songs. And he reached out to me for volume two, and he had picked out a song by a German band called The Twins and a song from 1987 called Time Will Tell. And I hadn't heard the song before. I wasn't familiar with them, which made sense because he was trying to pick obscure songs that people weren't as familiar with. And when I heard it, I liked it right away. It had that 80s sound. It reminded me of Pet Shop Boys and Dead or Alive, and I got into it right away. It was definitely in my vocal range, so I felt comfortable that I could do a good job with it. And so I recorded the vocals and the backing vocals and sent it to him. And that was completed in December, and it just came out in May. So I was very fortunate and honored to be the featured vocalist on that one track. And then I think there might be 17 tracks in all on the album with various guest vocalists.
Okay, yeah, congratulations on that opportunity.
Thank
So I know that you describe your music as emotional and intelligent lyrics, melodic with the influences of industrial and electronic.
you.
Can you expand on that and also talk some about your musical influences?
Oh, sure. Um, so I like to express myself as best as I can, as candidly as I can. And I think that there's a decent mix of fictional and autobiographical and hybrids of the two in my lyrics. And
Okay.
I try not to think about them too much. I try to let it just kind of flow as organically as possible, and then try to edit my lyrics to make sure that they fit melodically with the song. And then also from the standpoint of, if you were just to read them, do they make sense? And
Yeah.
trying to make sure that I'm using the best words to convey things, and um, just trying to get them out in a way that sounds um, understandable and relatable, and people can interpret them however they want. That's always fine. And sometimes there is a distinct um, topic that I want to talk about, and other times it's more just kind of free flowing, whatever comes out. Um, and in terms of influences, it's really a wide range of things. I listen to lots of different genres of music. My favorites are, of course, the electronic and the industrial, but I also like a lot of classic rock and things like that, and other alternative bands. I also like some older music, like some big band stuff. Like I love Tony Bennett and Ella
Hmm.
Fitzgerald, and kind of the crooners and the big band sound. Um, and some of the biggest influences, the obvious ones would be like Depeche Mode,
Yeah.
Camouflage, Division, Wolfsheim, a lot of German synthpop bands in there. Erasure, of course, anything that Vince Clarke has been involved in.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, and then on the industrial side, my favorite is Nitzareb. And then I also, um, there's Front 242 and Ministry, and Nine Inch Nails, of course. Those are some big ones there. And then from just in general alternative, I love Peter Gabriel, Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel has been putting out new music the last 2 years, where he releases a new song every month and two mixes of it.
Hmm.
And his voice still sounds amazing, and his lyrics are as poignant as ever, and his storytelling is just amazing. So big fan of Peter Gabriel as well.
Did you enjoy his music when he was in Genesis?
that's the one area where I struggled with some of the prog rock stuff.
Uh,
Um,
gotcha.
I think that if I had discovered it, if I had been, say, a teenager when it came out, I may have enjoyed it. But I
Yeah.
discovered Genesis probably around 1980, and at that point, it had already morphed into the Phil Collins version of it, and they were headed more towards pop. They were still doing some long form songs that had some remnants of the prog rock structure to it, but they were definitely moving more towards a more radio friendly sound. Um,
Yeah, definitely. And I'll be honest, I can't think of a single Genesis song that was fronted by Peter Gabriel that I've ever listened to. I
okay.
mean, if you told me like the titles, the song titles, I'm sure I'd be familiar with it or the albums, but off the top of my head, I honestly can't, think of any. So I'd like to check it. I like to check it out, but yes, I also enjoy Peter Gabriel's solo material that he did in the '80s for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as on the touring side of things, do you have plans for the rest of 2026?
No plans at the moment. Right now, I'm hoping to get back to working on some new original material.
Mhm.
Um, am working on a release that I hope to get out this year. Got one or two songs. I have to see if maybe if it stretches to three or four, if it would be enough for an EP.
Okay.
Um, but I'm very slow to release things, and that's for a variety of reasons. One is just basically time and energy
Mhm.
to work on music. Having a family and a full time job, it doesn't give you as much time as you would like to pursue music. Um, and also, I am extremely, extremely hard on myself when it comes to everything to do with my music, whether it is the the lyrics, the music, the production, the vocal performance. I really kind of obsess over it and make myself crazy when a song is done and fully recorded and then I'm ready to go to the mixing stage. I tend to take forever to mix things, and I think a lot of people who self-produce kind of fall into this as well, where it feels like it's never ready, it's never done. You go back and you listen to it and you tweak things, and then even after you finally get to the point where you're like, okay, I have to release it, I've done everything that I can, you still listen to things sometimes and think, oh, I wish I would have made that a little bit louder, or I wish I would have done that a little bit differently. Um, so that definitely slows me down. And I'm also not very prolific when it comes to writing. I have a lot of ideas. I don't always feel like they're always good ones. So I try to wait until I feel like I have something that really, really excites me, that I really want to work on, and that I think it's worth spending the time and effort on.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. But would you ever be interested in expanding Halovox to a full band, or do you prefer it to be more of a one-man act?
Well, it started as a one man band, kind of out of necessity and out of
Mhm.
the desire to fully have all say over everything that came out of the project. Um, I have collaborated with people in different ways, like doing remixes and things like that, doing guest vocals and things like that. But it's difficult to find the right people and then also
Yeah.
make that commitment to say that you're going to get together and work on things on a regular basis, or that you're going to work, via the web, sending each other files back and forth. So I've been open to collaborating with people, but I kind of like the idea that Halovox is just mine and that it's the one thing in my life that I have complete control over. Whereas there's so many areas of my life where there's, other people have a say into what happens.
Yeah, so this is Halovox is your baby, and you are content. It's pretty much always been that way, and you're content just keeping it that way. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been fun for live shows. I usually have somebody join me on stage to
sure.
play synth. And as is normal with this genre of music, I mean, most of it is, pre-recorded music, and then we play live on top of it, and always sing live on top of it. But you'd need quite a few people to replicate everything live. So usually just have a keyboard player. Once or twice, I've had someone play drums. I had a guitarist join me once on stage for a song, but
Mm-hmm.
usually it's just me and a synth player backing me up.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Are you, I know you mentioned a lot of your influences earlier. So what about, how do you feel about the gothic rock side of things? So were you ever a fan of bands like Bauhaus, Sisters of Mercy, The Mission, for just a few examples that come to my head?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy some of that. I always lean more towards the electronic side because I was
Hmm.
always just completely infatuated with the uniqueness of the sounds that could be created.
Yeah.
So that's really what kind of drew me more towards that side of things. Definitely liked some of the guitar based alternative stuff. Like definitely love the Cure and the Smiths and Morrissey and things like that. Love and Rockets and obviously that was an offshoot of Bauhaus initially. The members that went on to form Tones on Tail and then Love and Rockets. Um, so there's so many that I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's definitely a wide variety that I like, but I always found that I gravitated towards the electronic stuff because I was always hearing sounds that I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" I haven't heard that before. That's a really cool sound that they're using there, and just trying to um, critically listen to stuff to try to pick out different things that you didn't hear in traditional guitar, bass, and drums setups.
Yeah, because I couldn't help but detect a few nuances, similarities of those bands that I just mentioned to you. I know that when I was listening to your albums, that I could tell it is predominantly synth-driven, electronic, but I felt like I could detect some gothic rock influences as well, which is why I asked you that.
Yeah, I think that for me, I feel like everything that I've ever seen or heard, it gets stored in your subconscious somewhere, and it
Hmm.
influences you, you realize it or not. So it's very difficult to come up with something that's completely original that hasn't been done before or doesn't sound like something else, especially with a limited number of chord progressions that you can do. Um, versus maybe limitless melodies that you can do on top of them. Um, yeah, I think there's definitely things that have seeped in, and I've used. I've either had someone play guitar on songs or used sampled guitars, in on some of the harder songs that I've done that have a little bit more of that industrial feel. So you could definitely get some of that as well. So,
Nice. So are there any countries that outside of the States that you'd like to travel to and perform some music?
oh, that's the dream. I would love to play in Europe. That would be the dream.
Mm.
Um, I'm definitely not at a level where I would, draw people to come and see me necessarily outside of, clubs and things like that. But it would still be great to have that experience to go to Europe and to play in clubs and venues like that. Hopefully with decent crowds. Um, that's the dream. The fantasy would be to play like a really large venue with thousands of people, but that's why it's called a fantasy.
Sure, and we have to start off with these goals, fantasies, expectations. We do have to start off on start off small and on a reasonable level. So
Yes.
yeah, like you said, I don't think there would be anything wrong with pursuing a dream of going, say, to England or pick your choice, anywhere over to Europe, to play some clubs and things like that. Because and I think that would be entirely possible or feasible. So,
Yes. Yeah.
do you
It's
have
and also the cost
it?
associated with travel and everything like that. So
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely know a lot of people that are saying that kind of right now they've put some travel plans on hold and they're maybe going to wait a little bit, see if some certain things stabilize within the country or outside of the country. So yeah, but before we wrap up, I do want to ask you, what are your three favorite albums of all time?
oh wow,
Yeah, it's a
three favorite
tricky.
albums. That's really tough. You really put me on the spot here. Three favorite albums. Uh, let's say Violator by Depeche Mode.
Mm-hmm.
Belief by Nitzareb.
Mm-hmm.
And So by Peter Gabriel.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, thanks very much for chatting with me this morning. Um, so you guys that are listening, you can check out Halovox on Facebook, Instagram. I believe you're also on Bandcamp. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, Bandcamp, and of course YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So thank you very much, Frank. I look forward
Thank you
to,
for having me.
yeah, thanks for joining, and I look forward to hearing what you have in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye now.